Coming up on Mountain News this morning, as our region continues to look forward after devastating flooding, many are left living in temporary housing. And with help of his community, a young Kentucky boy gives back to an Eastern Kentucky school that saw destruction as floodwaters rose in its classrooms.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning, 6:01 on this Tuesday morning. I'm sure many of you all are just now getting up and having to go back to work after having Labor Day off, if I can talk. Let's go over to Brandon Robinson, who, well, we were both working yesterday. I'm still salty about that. I mean, I'll get over it eventually, but...
Well, you know, you did get a little extra pay for your holiday.
I guess I did, didn't I?
There you go.
Well, I guess makes up for it.
There you go. So, but overall this morning, Dakota, as we labor for our second day this week, we are looking at some fog out there this morning. We're looking at, again, dense fog, and because of that, the Weather Service at Jackson has issued a dense fog advisory that goes until 10 o'clock, and you can see why. That visibility, at low visibility, continues to sink south there all the way to the borders of Kentucky, West Virginia, and Tennessee. So just be aware of that. Many spots near zero visibility. So this does go until 10 o'clock for parts of eastern and southern Kentucky and even central Kentucky back into Indiana this morning. Louisville also issued one for their area out that way. So continue to be vigilant. UVA-wise, this camera always does this. We're going to pull this out of the system. Hopefully we can get that back to the full screen here in just a second. But I'm trying to show you that the fog is over that way as well. We'll just move on. I don't know what it is with that camera, but it's one of those that glitches all the time. 64 over that way this morning, 66 in Clintwood, 68 Hazard, 69 Manchester, Harlan, Prestonsburg, Jackson, and Middlesboro. Lots of 70s out there as well. So a normal day for the coffee meter, but it's the first day back to school and work for a lot of folks this morning, so you might need a little bit extra. But if you want to grab a donut with your coffee as you're heading out the door, you can grab those and see that it's going to be basically raining at times today. It could be soggy at times, so again, just be careful out there, slow it down, and take your rain gear with you. You'll probably need it at some point today. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. Well, FEMA is in its fifth week of being on the ground in eastern Kentucky, assisting people after the deadly flooding. More than 700 federal employees are helping with appeals, temporary housing units, and even walking neighborhoods to reach people. Emily Bennett talked with FEMA representatives who are urging people to apply as the deadline is just weeks away.
Since historic flooding hit eastern Kentucky nearly 6 weeks ago, some flood victims have struggled receiving assistance from FEMA.
Keep the faith. I think that's really important. Don't be discouraged.
Through the frustrations, FEMA Representative Patrick Boland says it's been a learning process for their crews as well.
We understand people's needs a little bit better and how important it is for us to do outreach to people.
FEMA usually calls applicants 3 times. If they don't answer, they don't go to inspect the home. But Boland says with the lack of cell phone service, that had to change.
But in this case, well, you could call 10 times, but with no cell coverage, nobody's going to pick up the phone. So we had to adapt to that.
Having 12 teams in 6 counties, walking neighborhoods, going door to door to reach people.
Yeah, we've had thousands of people come into the recovery centers, right? So yeah, it's really changed. People understand that process a little better.
Saying more than 2,000 claims, first classified as denials, have turned into eligible claims. And now they're working on temporary housing with travel trailers and manufactured homes.
So those trailers really kind of fill the interim need, but the state's working really hard on the housing problem, and we know how important that is for people.
With the deadline to apply for disaster assistance just weeks away, Boland is urging people to get an application in before September 28th.
People kind of don't sometimes, but they really should, even though they might not use it, right? But some people don't realize they have some eligibility.
Submitting it before it's too late. Emily Bennett, WSAZ News Channel 3.
The FEMA disaster period is 18 months, so officials say they will stay in eastern Kentucky for that amount of time or longer. If you have any questions about your application, you're encouraged to go to talk with a representative at a recovery center. Well, Governor Andy Beshear returns to the mountains today. 30th District Senator Brandon Smith and the governor are having a news conference at 10:30 this morning at Perry County Park. They are going to announce infrastructure and economic development projects as well That's providing an update on flood recovery efforts here in the mountains. And we're getting a look at travel trailers making their way to eastern Kentucky. The Transportation Cabinet shared this video on Facebook. The state of Louisiana is donating hundreds of trailers to help flood victims. They were originally used in the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. The first fleet made its way to Kentucky on Thursday. Some are set up here at Perry County Park, and right now they'll provide temporary housing for people impacted by flooding. Flood relief efforts continue across the region, with many people still living in temporary housing as they look for ways to move forward. In Letcher County, families are camped out at Fish Pond Lake, some in RVs, a few in tents, all displaced by the weather that ravaged the region more than 1 month ago. Some families are now making plans to move out of state, saying the unexpected and unforgettable flooding is something they never want to experience again.
Because I lay down and went to bed the night before, and didn't expect anything to happen. And then to wake up and that all happened that quick, it makes you second think things in life, you know?
Well, the shelter workers at Fish Pond Lake are still accepting donations of food and cleaning supplies for those in need, but they currently do not need any clothing. Operation Book Drop, started by a Northern Kentucky boy to give back to one Eastern Kentucky elementary school after it lost all of its books to flooding. We talked with the 11-year-old about why he wanted to help his fellow Kentuckians.
10,900 books.
That is how many books Martha Jane Potter Elementary School in Letcher County had before flooding made its way inside the school.
It was just heartbreaking. It was devastating not being able to think about anything but all the students not being able to have anything when the doors open back up.
But through the power of social media, that all changed. 11-year-old Owen Crawford is from Boone County. His mom reached out to librarian Crystal Quillen after seeing a Facebook post asking if Owen could host a book drive for the school.
First, it was just a few books, and then it started reaching up into 100. And then before I knew it, she told me he had over 500 books.
Owen says he saw the devastation on television and social media, even watching YouTube videos from one of his favorite YouTubers who visited the area with his church following the flooding. Soon, Owen made his way down.
It was sad and devastating that they are not getting enough help from the community, from the government, and from everything. It's devastating.
He teamed up with his favorite pizza shop for Operation Book Drop to give back to kids in need.
I hope that it improves the community and it gives the kids a chance to learn about new things.
In Letcher County,
Kentucky is home.
Dakota Makris,
We should take care of each other and everything.
WYMT Mountain News. Owen also helped out tornado survivors in western Kentucky last year. He says he has more plans to help eastern Kentuckians in the future. Well, more than 7,600 eastern Kentucky students still haven't returned to school, and that includes 4 school districts and 2 Perry County elementary schools. A flood relief bill gives flood-affected schools more flexibility on attendance this year. Now here in Perry County, Buckhorn and Robinson Elementary students will go to school at A.B. Combs Elementary starting today. Knott County schools are set to start on the 19th, and Letcher County classes begin on the 21st. Well, volunteers in eastern Kentucky spent their Labor Day cleaning up flood debris. We caught up with about a dozen volunteers with Samaritan's Purse as they continue to rip out floors and drywall in Breathitt County homes. It's been just more than 40 days since the historic flood engulfed much of eastern Kentucky. So far, they've cleared out 70 homes with about 260 to go. Some volunteers are as far away as Idaho. They say it was an honor to serve others on Labor Day.
I can't think of a better thing to do, though. I know this is a holiday, but I can't think of a better thing to do on Labor Day than to give some labor and help people who are down. You know, I think that's a good thing to do.
One homeowner says she's thankful the group has come to her aid. Well, in the midst of a tough battle with cancer, one Kentucky woman now has a much-needed smile on her face. As Sam Luther explains, she has a special person to thank.
Hey, Anne Marie, your sister Kim told me that you weren't feeling too good, so I just wanted to say, feel better.
A simple message, but one that went a long way. Last year, Anne Marie Davis was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Knowing how big of a Dolly Parton fan she was,
she reminds me a lot of my grandmother.
Her sister Kim made this.
I paint for my feelings, and my emotions. I just wanted to do something to make her happy.
A Dolly Parton canvas that, as a surprise, Kim was hoping to get signed. What she got instead?
I saw the picture that you painted. It looks really good.
Was even better, a personalized message from Dolly that couldn't have come at a better time.
You know, it brought joy and happiness and excitement that, you know, it's hard to find sometimes when you're going through cancer.
Messages like this.
Just wanted to say I will always love you, Dolly.
Making the tough days a little easier.
Well, how cute was that story? 6:11 here on this Tuesday morning. We are looking at live pinpoint Doppler radar, and there's a little bit to scan this morning. I know it looks very active, but most of that is fog. The one thing we want to focus on is what's the red and the yellow there, which is some heavier bands of rain that are moving out of Corbin and toward Barberville. So heads up Barberville that you're going to be seeing some of that here in the next little bit, and it's going to continue to travel east there into parts of Bell and Leslie counties and maybe even Clay County at some point. So again, just be aware of that. Heavy pockets of rain out there this morning. And as we go to Moorhead, not too bad out there, but it is foggy for sure. Dense fog advisory until 10 o'clock for most of the region. 68. Dew points are high too. 68, so it feels like soupy conditions out there. And visibility over at the airport is 0. So again, we're continuing to watch that. Temperatures across the board in the mid to upper 60s and low 70s to start your day off. And we'll continue to watch that trend as we head deeper into the forecast. So breakfast forecast this morning, foggy first, cloudy skies, rain chances back and forth throughout the day, so be ready for that. We'll talk more about all this coming up in just a little bit. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you so much. When we come back here on Mountain News this morning, dozens of artifacts here in the U.S. are set to be returned to their native countries. We'll have that story in just a few minutes.